As I had mentioned in my Surface with Windows RT review the other day, I will be returning this unit soon. But before I do, I wanted to show you some benchmarks that I just ran. And, well, no, actually, that was not the page that... Where did it go? Where's my history? Hang on. No. In the Peacekeeper Universal Browser test, the Surface with Windows RT came in at 376, the iPad 4th generation at 935. It's quite a few systems that run faster than the Surface with Windows RT there, at least as far as this browser test is concerned, and I believe that score is indicative of the performance I've seen in the entire experience on the Surface with Windows RT. I'll let the results speak for themselves. Here we have two computers that start out at $499, and the difference, I can tell you, is undoubtedly night and day. Hate to tell you, the Surface is slow for the money, and I don't really know if there's any other way to compare these two computers. The screen quality on the Surface is fine. Granted, text isn't going to be as sharp as it would be on the iPad 4. I can say that as I get closer to each one of the cameras, the iPad 4 camera is definitely sharper. I can see a lot more detail in my face, telling me that I need to shave, compared to the Surface camera. And I can definitely see that I have stubble, but the stubble is not clearly defined. Not to say that's a benchmark by any stretch. Just an observation. That's all. It's really a good I'm sorry, I better point at the screen exactly. It's a really good camera, and I'm not this orange in real life. Just for the sake of argument, I moved both devices to show you that flare is going to show up in a different capacity depending on where those lenses are pointing. You can see the massive amount of purple behind me, and trust me, it's nothing but red. In terms of weight and size, well, I guess that's just down to your preference. I gotta tell you though, I had an issue with the Surface minutes before starting this particular video recording. I discovered that I wasn't connected to the internet, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get reconnected to the internet. As a matter of fact, you gotta press settings, your wireless settings, and it told me there were no networks found, which isn't true. Airplane mode is off, and if I go back into settings, change PC settings, it seems that I have no network card installed. Even though when I went to the desktop to look at the computer management, I did have a network card installed. Performance, no, I want to, come on, I want to open up the, no, I want to. To better illustrate the performance difference between these two computers, I've opened up the default Maps application on both the iPad and the Surface with Windows RT. An incredible amount of dropped frames versus a smooth 60 frames per second experience that you see on the iPad 4th generation. It has been a tremendous hurdle to get around Windows RT, not just because of the performance, but because of how Microsoft has implemented the dual strategies. They're really straddling two sides of a riverbank with the wonderful modern UI, formerly known as Metro, combined with the classic desktop, which makes absolutely zero sense on a computer that doesn't have a keyboard. And I realize the keyboard is right around $100. As soon as you buy a keyboard, it's no longer the same price as an iPad. Another thing to note about the Surface is, yes, it does have a USB port, so you can extend its storage capacity if you want, and that might be wise, whereas the iPad, well, as we know, you can't extend it effectively that way. That being said, I was a little taken aback, and I mentioned this in my review, the Surface with Windows RT comes with a minimum of 32 gigs of storage space. However, 16 or so gigs are taken up by the OS and default files. So you are really buying a 16 gig Surface. I mean, yes, there is certainly space being taken up by the operating system files and the default files on the iPad, but it's far less of a footprint on iOS compared to Surface with Windows RT. Battery life on both of them, seemed to be okay. I was able to get through a full day with the Surface with Windows RT, and I think that's really what matters most with these types of devices. I've always been very happy with the iPad performance, and other studies have shown that the iPad 4, fourth generation, iPad Retina, whatever you want to call it, is able to get 10 plus hours of battery life. I don't know if the Surface can go quite that high, Surface with Windows RT, but if it can get me through the average day of clicking around, surfing, doing various things, that's cool. I've already illustrated the supreme lack of performance in the Surface with Windows RT, and I think that's really the bottom line between these two computers. If that's fine with you, cool. But you're spending $499 plus on questionable performance with muddy usability, or $499, the same amount of money on a tried and true operating system that is a real OS, despite what people say, with real software, plenty of apps, and a good cohesive experience in iOS. And so the difference between the two is, I would say, really dramatic, especially, and I keep coming back to this, the price. If the Surface was $200, it might be worth the money at that. But as it stands at this point in time, there's no way this computer is worth anywhere near $500. Great hardware, but I do believe that it's currently crippled by Windows RT, and we will see what happens when Windows 8 is released on the Surface. It may be the similar experience, it may be different. It will certainly be a heck of a lot more expensive. It puts it in a completely different category, unfortunately. The iPad is probably one of the best computers you can buy for $500 today.